guess that? What was exactly incorrect? To say that we had the money or that was put in the report? Because obviously when people saw that it was written, they're like, well, okay, the money is in there and the committee's being formed. So what was actually incorrect?
I was super excited on Friday night because I thought a big check had arrived and I had to quickly go to the bank and drop it off at the ATM. No, as I said in Scrum on Friday, I am very confident that we will get the money. I'm feeling very good about that, but it hasn't come yet. And as a result, there were a series of recommendations which, according to Council's direction, you can only release the additional money from the city once the federal and provincial funding was confirmed. So it wasn't just that there was a sentence wrong in it, it's that the recommendations were incorrect, because you can only release that money once the funding is confirmed.
So how does that happen? How does that happen? That's a pretty...
I think what happened, my understanding, I mean, I don't know for sure. My understanding of what happened is that the situation is very fluid, and it was very possible that we may have concluded those negotiations this week. So there were two slightly different versions of the report written. One saying, go ahead and release the extra funding, and the other saying, release the extra funding if the feds and province confirm. And the wrong one was published to our new electronic system.
To save time later, it seems like an awfully big mistake now.
Yeah. Measure once, cut twice, as they say. No, I think I got that backwards.
When will the final report be released? Council's actually
It should be out now. I don't know if it is or not. Do you know if it's out? I know it was supposed to be up on Monday, so it should be out at some point today.
Councillor Farrell just told us that
It really is a minor change. It really just says, do these recommendations once the funding is approved.
Well, Councillor Farrell just told us now the council's been informed that there just isn't time for a plebiscite.
No, that's not right. The timing on a plebiscite is very, very tight. As I've said before, if we want to have a plebiscite, there's a few conditions that have to be met. Number one is, and this is my opinion, number one is somebody's got to pay for it. Because that's $2 million, and that can't come from the existing budget, which is already spoken for, so we got to find the money. Number two is, it can't just be, do you love the Olympics? It actually has to be on, this is how much it will cost, this is how much benefit we think will come from it. So it has to be when the conversation is quite a bit more detailed than it is today. And number three is that the timing is very tight, because you need 4 to 6 months to really set up a plebiscite properly, which means honestly the earliest that we could do it would be around early October, and the latest we could do it would be around early October, because after that you get into the IOC's decision-making process. I think there are probably better ways of public engagement than that, but we'll abide by Council's direction on that.
Mayor, do we have to let the IOC know in October that we want to pursue the candidature?
Yes, so what happens is there has to be just a letter saying we're still in the process, but I believe the deadline on that is the end of March, so this month. After that, the Canadian Olympic Committee has to decide whether or not Canada is bidding and whether or not that bid is from Calgary. There are no other candidate cities. And then after that, the IOC has to open the actual bid process, which will happen, I believe, in mid to late October.
What do you say to those people who figure that it's really just a done deal, that more or less Calgary is going to bid for these Winter Olympics, period?
I'll say exactly what I said the last time someone asked me that question, which is, if it were a done deal, the deal would have been done. There have been massive majorities of council voting to move this process forward. So if we actually didn't want to engage council or provide them with more information, we could have saved ourselves a lot of heartache and drama. In fact, what we're doing is a process that no other city's ever done, which is having a very open public conversation with council and citizens at every step of the way. Now, at some point, council's going to have to make a decision. We can't continue doing this through the bid process. So I would suggest that by the end of June, when we actually have kind of the details set out, council at that point really does have to make a go, no-go decision. They got one more off-ramp in October if they need it. But we can't keep bringing this to council every couple of weeks. At some point, we've just got to make a decision.
One last question,
Can I
folks,
ask
and
about
we
the
have to
March
go. One last
deadline?
question.
Do you need
Yes.
to know from the province and the feds before you write that letter?
No, because that letter just is, we're not out. It's not, we're in, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I just have like a little bit of a technical question, but the report suggested that there was a BidCo kind of meeting. Just what's the optics of that?
Yeah, that was very poorly worded. There is no BidCo. What the report said was the members have met. The members are the Government of Alberta, the Government of Canada, the City of Calgary, and the Canadian Olympic Committee, and the Town of Canmore, but I don't think they've met yet. And they just met to talk about how many people get on the bidco. So no members have been appointed of the actual committee. That won't happen until after the various parties approve the structure. Okay, thank you.
Any thoughts about the work that he accomplished as our first integrity commissioner?
Yeah, you know, we were so lucky to get Justice Saladiki in that role. You know, a fellow who understands politics. He's a former member of Parliament, but also has served many, many years, distinguished years, on the bench as a judge. He basically fit exactly what we were looking for. And the funniest part is when he came for his interview, he said, "I'm not that interested in this job. I'm just here to tell you why you've structured it wrong and why it's going to cause you big problems." So we listened to him, we changed the structure of it, and we asked him if he wanted the job. So he's been really great. So now, if you happen to be someone of the highest possible ethical standard, perhaps a retired judge or a senior lawyer, please apply for this job. It doesn't pay very well, but it is a great opportunity for public service.
Anticipating a really hard position to fill, given the notice you were given?
Oh no, he gave us lots of notice. It has just taken us a little while to get our selection committee up and going and ready to go. So no, we have some feelers out there now. The posting is out. Certainly we're reaching out to some folks, particularly recently retired judges, to gauge their interest. It'll be hard to follow in Justice Saladiki's shoes, but I'm sure we'll end up with a good person.
How badly needed is this?
Well, you know, he wasn't that busy in his first couple years, but certainly there is a need for the role, because ultimately this is, if members of the public have a concern with the behavior of councillors, they really had nowhere to go before. And this really is an opportunity to get that in place. And when you combine that with the new code of conduct that is required under the Municipal Government Act, that actually also passed today in the consent agenda, then you'll see that both there will be a very clear list of expectations of councillors, as well as what to do if you feel that the councillors have not met that code.
Has there been or will there be a vote regarding the ethics advisor in terms of extending her or offering her another term?
I am not yet able to answer that question. I should be able to answer it soonish. I will also say that Ms. Woolley has done a magnificent job. Again, I could not have imagined anyone better than Professor Woolley for that role of initial ethics advisor, and I certainly hope she'll be interested in staying on.
That's your personal wish.
That is my personal vision.
For the EDIF board, there were some concerns raised about the diversity on that board. Now, it was said that it's not a permanent makeup, but it might take a full year to kind of switch around out of possibly 2 or 3 years of the fund. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I share those concerns, and I will note that there is, I believe, 1 vacancy still on the board, partially for that reason. However, it was these folks who got us to the finish line, and the real thing that we heard from the business community is just get started. And so our goal here is to get started and then fix the airplane while it's in flight.
In future, though, how should these things work? Because it seems like these people may have decisions on a big chunk of the money that's at stake to help us diversify.
Yes, this is uncharted territory for council, so we really have to get our heads around how to do this better. Council itself really has been very committed to ensuring that the boards and commissions that we appoint to are reflective of the community that we serve. And I think that's been, by and large, quite successful. We don't always get it right, but that's precisely why these questions have been raised.
You are an ex officio member of a whole bunch of committees and boards and things. How active an interest do you plan to take part in this board?
As always, I will take a very active interest at the beginning, making sure everything is underway. If it turns out that I'm not adding value, then I can step back a little bit, but for now I intend to be fully engaged.
And would you encourage then, if you're not able to make some of those meetings, that Councillor Davison be there just so you have that political antenna?
I pretty much told Councillor Davison he has to go to every meeting.
How do you take that?
He actually took it pretty well. He's excited about it.
Rookies.
All right. Rookies. I will also mention one thing that happened today that you may not have noticed in the consent agenda is that Council passed the $45 million program to help shield businesses that are seeing very high increases in their property taxes. So again, businesses whose assessment haven't been changed for the second year in a row will see their property taxes capped at 5% increase. Again, this is a short-term solution, but I'm really pleased the council did it. It was the right thing to do to make sure that we're helping businesses as we get into this economic recovery mode.
Do you have a sense yet of what vehicle or work will happen between now and say, a year from now to have another system, a better system in place if the shift continues?
I don't know what form that will take, but certainly that is very much at the top of my mind. Now, given that the amount of this fund is typically the same size or lower than our surplus, we haven't been digging deep into our rainy day fund on this yet. We can continue this for a little while longer, but I don't think it's good policy to continue it forever.